Good afternoon, everyone. BC Richfield here, coming to you live from London. It is just gone midday here, which makes it 11 o'clock UTC. A little bit earlier with the stream today, so hopefully that suits you guys. If it doesn't, let me know, and we can always move it back next week. So a big shout out to everybody joining the stream live, as well as everybody that's going to be watching this on recording. I see is in the chat already. Tyler Durden swallowed the red pill. I mean, if that's the real Tyler, then I'm super impressed. And great to have you on, buddy. If not, then a very good trader that a lot of people can learn a lot from. Nipar McRaw, absolutely fantastic to see you all. So look, we're going to start here with BTC. But like normal, we're going to roll through and just do a bit of an alt Wednesday. I know is in there as well, trying to just take a look before CPI. So Kelly as well, legend. Kelly comes in all the way from New Zealand, so I'm guessing it's silly o'clock in the morning over there. But happy Easter to everyone. Hope everybody that's participating is having a fantastic Ramadan. And before we get on to anything political and distracting, let's just dive straight into the charts, shall we? So weekly scale, Bitcoin, what are we looking at now? I know I do a lot of education on this one normally, guys. So if you've got any questions, do ask. But I also know a lot of people that have come into the channel for a long time now know I'm kind of going over the same bits and pieces. So normally we reserve that for a Monday. If there's anything that I'm saying that doesn't really make sense, drop something in the comments and I'll look to go through it, all right? Queen, hey, bud, good to see you. So what are we looking at? Those of you that know me know that I'm a pretty simple creature. So in terms of marking out our liquidity, we want to start here on the weekly. And, you know, as we've covered on the streams previously, right, this is obviously the high time frame draw that we're looking for here. We obviously want to be aware of this order block as well, for which obviously the fact we've got inefficiencies after it as well, just add a little bit of extra validation for me here as well. Thank you, Nitpar. Yeah, had a really nice Easter actually, mate, just recovering from this cheeky little chest infection, and then just, yeah, it was nice. Lots of family. Hope you guys did too as well. Burned, there he is. Hey, buddy. So look, keeping it simple, there's our draw on liquidity higher up. All right, we've got this inefficiency down here. I know we're talking about this every week. Obviously, like we've said previously as well, this holds a little bit less weight currently. We kind of dipped into this, had a really strong reaction off of it. Still think the draw is to the upside. But as we zoom in, obviously it seems a long way down, but we want to be aware of this level here, this level here as well. All right. So with this inefficiency, obviously we do look for these to get rebalanced, but there isn't, as we know, a real time frame on this. They can come back, they can partially fill them, they can completely fill them, or they can revisit them at a much, much later date, okay? So, Ricky, what's going to happen with the shapeless upgrade today? Not really my area of expertise, mate. I'm really more looking for the charts to tell me what's going on. We've got a great fundamental team over at the Nest that look into that. The thoughts of them are that they're pretty bullish on it, actually. You know, I normally see these things as kind of always watching out for buy the rumor, sell the news. But, you know, there's a belief among a lot of the fundamental community that I know that this actually could be quite good for ETH. But again, I want to see what's going on. We've also got CPI today as well, guys. Let's not forget, we've got CPI today, we've got FOMC minutes as well, and then the ETH upgrade that's happening later. So it could be potentially quite a news-driven day. But looking back to the charts, this is what is kind of standing out for me on a weekly scale. We've come in, filled this inefficiency here. So what else are we looking for? Clean highs and lows, right? Same way as what we're looking for on our daily chart too. So, and that's it, Queenie, good point. PPI tomorrow as well. Yeah, we want to keep a good eye out for that, guys. So let me just turn this off so it's not distracting. We'll put it back on the lower time frames just to show our session times. Now, as we do, and obviously we pay a lot of attention, depending on what time frame you're trading, the weekly and the daily levels. Obviously, when we're coming into these kind of positions here, where we have these sweeps, normally if we see 3 of these consecutive, we add a bit more weight to it. But to be honest, on a weekly scale, as we can see by the examples here, there's significance within weekly levels, right? So in terms of seeing a reaction, no, we didn't get a reaction here, but when we draw down to the lower time frames, let's mark this in, all right, so that we can take a quick look. Now, those of you that have been on the channel before or come on here quite a lot, obviously we're looking here for liquidity. We're looking for reactions at key highs and lows. we're looking at our daily. We're also looking for areas like our inside bar patterns, and then we're trying to work out, has liquidity been taken from the lows or the highs, and where's the most likely destination for price next? All right. So for any of you that can hear that, there's a rag and bone man coming around. It's been a long time. If that is Tyler and he's still on the stream, I'm sure it's something he'll remember. But basically, horse and cart, or they use vans now, ringing the bell to come and take your scrap metal away. So we had this here, which was capping price. Price came up, ran these highs, came back down, then ultimately went for liquidity lower. Yeah, we set this liquidity here when this ran this low, and then we can once again see the reaction of price going up to search out liquidity above the highs. So let me just clean these up so we've got the more relevant ones in here at the moment. All right. Now, what we can see here, exactly, Steptoe and Son, exactly that, So we can see liquidity run from the lows here, liquidity run from the highs. What else did we have here? This was our inside bar pattern, right? So inside bar being made by these two candles, this being our mother bar, this being our inside bar. What we would do is we would draw the range of these both, paying a little bit more weight to the mother bar, right, which are the thicker lines here. And this denotes our range, all right? So let's just tidy this up very quickly. So again, like what we see here, when price runs the lows, comes back in the range, we expect price to expand and search for liquidity above the highs, okay? So we've got these highs marked out here. Obviously, we'd be aware of any internal highs, yeah? So for me, swing high, we're looking for the middle candle here needs to be flanked by two lower highs in the same way that a swing low needs to be flanked by two higher lows, okay? So we can see here, we ran the range low, went to the range high, ran the range high, and we didn't quite come back to the range low. So certainly how I look at ranges and how a lot of, legends that I learned a lot from over the years, people like SC, we're putting our midline in here, right? Our EQ, we've got a confirmed high, we've got a confirmed low. Now, what does this tell us? It tells us here that as price is holding above the midline here, that it's showing strength, okay? So then when we're looking at this on a daily scale, and always remembering that this is very, very linked to the time frame that you're looking to trade and execute on, all right? So if you're trading lower time frames, then the weekly chart isn't going to be your high time frame, right? You would at most be making allowances for your daily levels, but you'd be looking for the hourly charts to dictate your high time frame and then decanting that down onto the minutes. But with price being fractal in nature, we can always take a look at that across different time frames. So as price comes up here, we can also see we're holding bullish structure here. Here's our high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Okay, we've then broken this high, which to be honest, we've done with quite a lot of energy. Like we say, you want to see that kind of energetic drive, that punch through a level. We can see here, this is the level, right? Let me just do this a little bit thicker. But this is the level that we've been watching for a bit. Just do that in purple. Why? Because we see price came up here. This was just capping the market, right? We had a couple of little peaks above here, but we can see the absorption. We can see price getting pushed down on the wick. So when we had this big expansive move above it, that's what we're looking for. If we want to remain bullish, in my opinion, I'm looking for price to retrace back down into here. And then on the lower time frames, I want to see some structure recovery. And then I want to see some energetic moves back higher, ultimately targeting the high that it's left. However, if we break down and we start getting back within the range, obviously if we expand this out a bit further and just draw in our midline here so we can get rid of our fib. Then what we can see here is strength leading into this move higher, right? So price came down, ran the lows, ran the highs, failed to come back down for the lows. I'm going to get rid of the inside bar, so we got this nice and clean. So without price revisiting here and holding here, it's showing us strength, right? And that's the way that I certainly like to see it. As it builds here, we can see price go into a compression and then it pops out and we have the expansion higher, all right? So what we're looking for from here, we just pop back to our weekly chart, is this, okay? This is the area that we're interested in. Now, if we're making allowance from the wicks here as well, then we've got this across, and this is the area that we've got. Wax Shah, hey buddy, finally joined up. Awesome, man. Well, look, remember, I'm a huge fan of paid communities. They were something that did a lot for me in my past. You can get a lot of this information free out there as well. But hopefully it's with us. But if it's not, don't be afraid to, broaden your horizons, guys. What I'll always say is just come along and try it. We offer free trials. You can get in using the Bybit link in the description as well, meaning that as a lot of this nature of it works, is you deposit on Bybit, we get a kickback from the fees, and then that way you get access to the membership, and it kind of all works out for free, and it's only like $100, right? That's all you've got to deposit to get in. But I really hope you like it, mate. Don't hesitate to reach out, and remember, like people that make the most of these, ask a lot of questions, have a really structured plan when you're going in for it, and understand what it is you want to learn. There's a variety of different traders and people within the nest, so make sure, from algorithmic builders all the way through fundamental analysts and simple price action traders like myself, whatever it is, make sure you really lean in on that, right? And ask a lot of good questions, which I know you do because you always do on the stream. So before I digress, this is my first key level. I'm not really looking above this at the moment. My next one would be up here in terms of looking for swings, obviously taking into account these inefficiencies. We often see, as we do on the lower time frames, right, that these inefficiencies are often rebalanced. See another one here, rebalanced. This one here, rebalanced. But as we see with others, this one up here, for example, it doesn't always have to be the case. So like we say, just make sure you're building a story, right? You're looking for confluence here to put these things together and give you high probability trade setups. Pardon me for a second while I pour me Yorkshire tea. Lovely. Right, so that's where we are. That's our expansion target higher. Now, I'm not looking to be particularly active today. I don't like trading news days like today. We often see a lot of whipsaw action in around price, but all I'm asking myself on this level is where are our targets? What's price currently doing? What do I want to be aware of? The other level that I want to be aware of here is the prior day's high, right? So let's pop that up here, and let's also take a look at the prior day's low. All right, this is going to be relevant when we're then dropping this down onto the lower time frames to see what we've got. So what would I be looking for here for bullishness? Now, if price really runs away from here, the issue that I've got after a big expansive move like this is I want to see some consolidation, right? I want to see a point at which price can show me that it's going to run liquidity on the opposite side of my target, recover that target, and then move higher, right? So in terms of the patterns that we're looking for, right? I know I said I wouldn't make this too educational, but I don't want anybody to kind of feel left out from this. So if this was our target, right, and price comes up, does something like this, takes out the prior day's high, what I then want to see is price come back within the range, or under this level, and then I want to see it retest this before selling off. That's the low that swept the high, okay, because this is our sweep, This is our shifting structure. And then within this displacement leg here, we want to see an energetic move down, price to return to test this area. That's when we look for our entries, all right? So nice and simple. And we're applying the same kind of principles to our higher time frame as well. Even if we look here, if we zoom out on a daily chart, you can see very similar. Let's mark this one, for example. I'll try and do it with a pencil, this never particularly works well for me. Sweep the high, the low that takes the high, that's our, deviation, as people like I see would say, that's our kind of fake out. What we then get is this energetic move lower. Just zoom in a bit. Okay, we get this energetic move lower. How do we know it's an energetic move? You're looking at that, you're looking for these big bodied candles, right? You're looking for that energy, that punch, something that's telling you that sellers are stepping in at this point. And then I'm looking for a return here. Okay, if we carry that along, we can see price tags it in here. Or I'm looking for 50% typically of this range. All right. So how do I take this range? Well, I'm just waiting for the first white candles to form. And then for me, this is the leg down that broke structure. So if I'm looking to enter here, obviously I get no entry on the retrace. If I'm then taking that down further, ultimately, when we do get back to here, here's our fair value gap. Gap between that candle's low and that candle's high. That's where we can look to take some entries, or as I call it, remember, these are just words that I've made up or have probably even come across over the years, I'd be looking for this, which would be the breaker line, right? So we have a sweep of the highs, price breaks down, takes out structure, it takes out the low that swept the high, returning to that area. We need clear downside targets, which we have in the liquidity below these lows, right? And that's how we would look to trade it. So that's the very, very simple pattern. We can use that across different time frames as well to make our bias, or certainly to confirm our bias. But for now, let's focus on recency, right? Because I don't want to get too caught up here on BTC today. I know there's a few people with some alts that we want to look at. So here, we've got these levels down here. Personally, if I want this to push higher, I'd like to see this low taken out, prior day's low. If we drop ourselves onto the 4 hour, we can see price in here. We can see yesterday's high, yesterday's low, right? And this is what I mean. This move here, right? This expansion higher. Now, unless you've got prior day's high, prior day's low, unless we have that sweep, right? We'll look at that on the lower time frames. Unless we get that sweep, for me, I don't really see the trade. I like to see that the market's been shaken out one side, returned back in, and is then using that to pump higher. All right, you want to see trap traders. You want to always kind of be asking yourself, where are people really hurting here? People that were looking to short this level aggressively, right? Price comes in, if they haven't waited for confirmation, or even if they have, you can easily find yourself getting chopped up. If you do, and you've got your levels set and you know what you're looking for, then as long as you're not holding on to a dead bias, and what I mean by that is it's no point here convincing yourself this thing's still going to go down, right? You don't want to be fading candles like this. Yeah, big body candles, expansion candles like this. When you look back across a chart, no, it's not always true. But when you see these large volume body candles, they're often a sign of continuation, henceforth why we get our engulfing candles, outside days, bits and pieces like that. So I would like to see for continuation, price to come back down here. You'd be a slightly deeper retracement into here, getting down into sort of the 50% of this leg. And then what I'm looking for is price to come back in, take out structure, and then we're looking to move higher, right? You want to see a sweep down here, the recovery of that, the break of that level, and then we can immediately, bearing in mind we're looking at this on the lower time frames, we're looking to push that towards the liquidity resting up here, okay? So that's currently where I am on BTC. Dropping it down to the hourly isn't really telling us much different. The only thing I'd be looking for slightly differently on here is looking for these fair value gaps, right? So if we're bearish here, let me just get rid of this. If we're bearish here, there's the expectation that this was the sweep. Okay. So price swept here yesterday, started to break down, it's come back up here. Yeah, has failed again. Now, in this drive down, this is what's interesting. If it wasn't a news day, this is the kind of thing I'd be looking in here around about sort of London and saying, okay, we're going to push up into here. Are we getting any kind of setup? Something else that I do. Again, always make sure you study this, guys, outside of myself or anyone, and build yourself kind of a broad horizon of trading. Is I'm looking for the equilibrium of this to hold. Yeah, so when price pulls back and drives into this, if we see the displacement that we would want on a lower time frame, then we could always look to trade it into these lows. Now, I don't like trading news days like today. I think there's a lot of setup, a lot of manipulation. I know there always is, but even more so, you can just find yourself getting caught offside. So with everything that's going on today, I think I'm going to be much more of a passive observer. But to show you what this would look like with the conviction here, because I do like this idea of a deeper correction. You know, I spoke about it on Monday as well. Not on the stream, but on Twitter. We had Easter Monday here, so spent a little bit of time with family, which was quite nice, although did move, as is typical, miss one hell of a pump. But we've consolidated in here, we've taken the high, right? And now we've started to correct lower. So for me, the displacement here, this energetic move lower, provides an opportunity for price to return here. Yeah, look to rebalance this area before pushing down. Now, ultimately, we would look to target this low here. This low here. So this creates our kind of area here for a target. And then we know, like we said, we've got the prior day low here, which is a really, really key part of how I trade. So moving down onto like an executable time frame, we can see the drop down here. Now, just not trying to teach anyone to suck eggs, which might just be a ridiculous British saying, but just saying, not if you know this, I'm not trying to tell you what you already know. But you can see how much more noise develops as we drop down onto the lower time frame, right? Which is why it's so important to get your bias fixed on the higher time frame, use the lower time frames in order to execute, okay? So what we'd be looking for in here is for price to drive up into here, yeah? Come into our imbalance, and then we're looking for displacement for that strong move down, right? Now, we need to find an inefficiency in here, or certainly that's what I'm looking for price to return to that before then selling off into the lows, all right? So that's what we'd be looking for in this move. Now, like I said, I don't like this today for a few reasons. Yes, I might be wrong, but for me, I'm happier to keep the powder dry, yeah, than I am to that. I think, what is it that's kind of on my mind today? Obviously, we've got CPI today, we've got FOMC as well. Be a lot of positioning going on around that and expectations too. I think the thing for me is, surrounding ETH, the Shanghai upgrade that we've got tonight as well, whether the market positions itself for that. But either way, I tend to stay out of news days like this, but always full disclosure, I tell you all the winners, all the losers. That's exactly what I'm looking for here in terms of trade setups, all right? So, guys, I know we had some questions earlier in Twitter and bits and pieces like that. Does anybody have any charts that they wanted to take a look at? Obviously, ES, we can look at indices. I know you guys obviously loving your crypto. Would I take trading advice from Capo of crypto? Well, you know what? I'll address this because it's a very common topic at the moment. So I'm not really a shit poster. I know some fantastic shit posters, as we all do, and people like SCXO and that. And I know there's a lot of opinions on Twitter. For me, I, like on anything in life, I come from a business background, okay? So for me, it's a lot about due diligence. So I think make sure you understand the people you're taking advice from and don't just take that at face value, right? You want to make sure that you're cross-checking that and you're making up your own mind. Look, if anybody on here is taking advice from anyone on Twitter or anywhere else, that is on you, right? That's you that's deciding to make those decisions. I cannot understand it if people decide to get into trades. And then they're slagging people off on Twitter and stuff for doing it. It's like, if you don't understand where that trade's going, and this isn't anything toward you, Ricky Garcia, please don't think that it is. I know you're just asking the question, and it's a very good question. I would say be careful in life who you put your trust in. Yeah, and I would say try it. I'm always very open with that about people when it comes to the bird nest. I'm not sitting here shilling it saying, look, it's the best thing in the world, come and join it, come and do it. It's something I've got a lot of belief in. It's stuff that I give a lot of my time up for, right? Because for me and the other traders in the group, other people did the same for us. Yeah. So when that happens, for me, I think it is nice to give a little something back. I think you see it from a lot of legends, a lot of people sharing setups and top alpha on Twitter. Obviously there's the Bird Nest fan. You got people like SC, you got people like XC, you got people like Dank, you got Durden. You can go on forever. King Cole, all of these people, right? Chase, who's another one. Chase is absolutely amazing. But at the same time, it's no good following everyone that has all these different systems. John Wick, Zero Hedge, he's another one, right? Some trade with indicators, some trade price action. It's much more about understanding where you are as a trader, where you want to be. The best advice I would give is just, look, if you want to trade low time frame price action charts or medium time frame price action charts, find the people in that space that can really, really help you. I am completely for paying for education. I know sometimes it's beyond people. But just, if you can do it, if you can go for it and you can afford it, great. If not, just really reach out for people. There's some really, really good people in this space. As a rule of thumb, if you're looking to follow people, especially on Twitter, which can be quite toxic, just take a look at their feed and make sure that they're delivering you, more alpha than they are, just reposting other people's ideas, basically. But do be very careful. There's a lot of good information out there, but understand who you are as a trader and where you want to be. All right, that's the best advice I could give, but it's a really, really good question, Ricky. And by no means was I insinuating that you were, just blindly copying anyone. You guys always on here asking good questions, but it is something I'm quite passionate about. I just think put your time into positivity, understanding yourself better. If you make mistakes, don't hide from those mistakes, learn from them, because they'll probably be some of the most important ones in terms of your development. So, all that aside, we have got some nice suggestions here, guys. So let's see how many we can rip through in the next kind of like 25, 30 minutes, shall we? So let's take a look at our old friend ARB, which is obviously very, very high up on in everyone's thinking at the moment. This is a tricky chart to trade, especially for someone like myself on Bybit, although actually I'm not even sure it's been out that much beyond that. So let's stick with what we know. And let's get ourselves out. I'm not really sure the weekly's going to tell us too much. You're more than welcome, bud. No, weekly not really telling us much, is it there? Daily, we can see what we were playing out here. So let's take a look. Delete that before we look at our handiwork. What are we looking for here? For price to come up, run the equal highs and break down. We can see here we got option 2, the way of pain. All right. So we can see when we put this on last time, must have been from last week's live show. Let me just delete this one, right? We didn't get this one. This isn't kind of thingy in the charts, but I don't like to keep stuff on there. All we were saying here is if we got this break above, we'd want to see a break and a close above for some small consolidation here, and then for a breakout and retest, in line with our system. We didn't get that. We got option number 2, which we can see here. Price came up. What were we looking for, right? We ran this higher. Now, when we left this high and we started to break down, we'd left these equal highs, right? So there's always an expectation maybe price kind of comes up and tags this. But once again, and look, you can all see this squiggly line, right? So this is what we were looking for. Price come down, retest this level, and then break down. Really nice and simple, right? Price being fractal. Let's just get rid of that. No point leaving it on there for clout. It is gone and done. So price comes down. What did we say? We want to see that energetic move lower, right? We leave that gap here. Here's the low, yeah. Price came up. However, we didn't sweep the high, right? So we weren't looking for entries off here. We were reliant on the fact that price would break down and give us some kind of inefficiency in here to trade off of. So that's why we were looking short on ARB. Jay, yeah, really good point. KuCoin does have some more history. Kind of trading this on the real low time frames. I don't really go too far back on that, but you're absolutely right. And for anybody listening, Jay raises a really good point here, which is if you're looking for history on a lot of these coins and you can't find it in line with the exchanges that you're trading on, try some of the other exchanges on there as well. I know KuCoin have a lot of old gems, as did Sushi Swap, bits and pieces like that back in the day. And obviously the ones like Coinbase. You can also find the index charts as well, which is better for your kind of long-term positioning. Right, so where are we now? We got that move. We came back down here. We can see why we were interested in this level, right? Once again, as the legend himself would say, SZ, price comes down, fails to hold, deviation, steps back in the range, right? We get this move. Now, like I showed on that squiggle slightly above, right? This is what I mean when I'm saying to come back in the range. Now, I know this is on an hourly, right? But we get 2 moves here that come back in the range. We get this initial move here, right? So we get the deviation, price comes back. At this point, we still don't know if this is holding it cleanly. Maybe it's coming up into this order block here, and then price starts to sell off. So what I like to see is I like to see price set this higher. Then I want to see expansion above it, right? In this case, we have this energetic move. Sorry, let me zoom in for you guys on that. We have this energetic move, right? So then we're saying, okay, look, if we're holding this level, we can see ourselves building this base here. This gives us trade opportunities. I'm then just looking for clean areas where liquidity is going to be resting that we can target. All right. So that's a good example there. That's why the level's on there, right? Now we can see here, big sell-off, right? Price comes in, yeah, and does exactly what we said, the same thing. So no cherry picking here, right? Sweep, price comes back into the range, yeah, we set this higher. So if we're looking to go long here, it's important that we then go into the lower time frames. We see that hold, we get our break of structure, and we're targeting price up here. Maybe we did get that and we got stopped out on this occasion. So we had a winner on the last one, loser on this one. But once again, we just, one of the key things, certainly for me, and what helped me a lot many years ago, kind of really pushing on in this, was having the conviction to go with my strategy. because you don't want to be sitting here and saying like, "Oh, deviation price came up, I got stopped out here." And the thing to get over is the fact that this is another deviation. You say to yourself, "Oh God, but I've got stopped out here as well." Well, no, look, you play the system, right? The whole point is you trade the system, and you trade and you work with the system over a period of time that you get to understand it, right? So you need to be back testing these things and understand the data. By understanding the data, will give you the confidence to enter the trades, right? That's why you see so many of the legends that are on YouTube that are posting trades every day. And to be honest, most of them are getting nothing but stick for it. But they're the real traders in the space, right? People doing it every day. They don't care what other people think. They know the system works over time, and they're the people that are out there sneakily building wealth while, other people are kind of caught flitting between different systems. So similar here, price comes up. This was the high. We closed above the high here, so we're looking for our long setups here. Let's say we got stopped out of that one, no problem. We get the same setup again. For me, and I learned this, or certainly refined the learning from this from SZ, a lot of people kind of get put off if we get this second move out. Actually, when we get back in the range, there's more probability that this thing then expands, right? Because you've had one fake out, price has corrected, second fake out here, yeah? Then once you get back in, you got to ask yourself, what are you doing back in here, right? If the sell pressure was really there, you would expect some kind of violent reaction to be selling lower. So we hold this, we get our expansion higher, and within here, we're looking for our moves, ultimately up to our liquidity that's resting over here. So that's our history lesson over and done with. What are we dealing with now? So I'm going to do this based off of the daily. So one question, if I'm really not sure, then I'm trying to say to myself, okay, well, where's liquidity resting here? And actually, we can just extend this line out here, which kind of covers this daily high here. And then really, I'm kind of looking at this low as the main target, right? The other thing that I always am aware of personally are prior days high, prior days low. We're going to mark this one up so that we can see the reaction that we got here. Because now we're in here, this all of a sudden has a bit of interest for me. We've got these levels coming up here, here, and also here that could see a reaction. But ultimately, we've got some resting liquidity down here as well. All right. So let's pop this onto our 4 hour and just see what price is doing here. Give me one moment. I'll take some tea. So coming into the lows, we can see price had a little bit of an initial reaction here. This is a very difficult candle to fade. If I'm expecting this to go lower, we can refine this on the lower time frames as well. We can see here, this gives us a little target for price to pull back up into before potentially seeking liquidity lower. That's if we pull back to here. Yeah, and then on the lower times, if we show weakness, then we'd be looking at that. We would then look to monitor price within here. We would want to see this level now act as resistance. Yeah. And then we'd look ultimately for this to be swept lower down. Okay. So we can see what happened when we got this sweep up here. Okay, so this was our prior day high. Now, price comes into our level of interest, right? Our point of interest. We also get a liquidity sweep. Now, from here, for me personally, what I want to see is I want to see an indication from price that it's getting ready to move. For that, I need price to close below a swing low. Be that a structure shift or a structure break, okay? That's what I'm looking for. Trader Jimmy, you absolute beaut. Jimmy the Mind, fantastic trader and an absolutely world-class NLP psychologist. Thanks for popping on the stream, buddy. It's great to see you. So we're just looking at displacement at the moment, Jimmy, just talking about the ideas of how we're looking for these sweeps and waiting for price to kind of give us an indication that it's ready to move. So the issue that I got here is, yeah, we get a bit of displacement here in the move down, right? And we get our little structure shifting here as well. You can see we got a very, very sneaky low. Now, because we've come from a higher high, higher low, yeah, this here is obviously very minute. You need to decide within your trading if you're taking the current time frame highs and lows and what depicts a high and low for you. I know some people teach that you want 2 candles lower than the middle candles higher for a swing high, swing low. That's fine. I'm not here to confirm or discredit those people. For me, I'm using the 3 candle pattern. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3. This for me constitutes a low because it's flanked by 2 higher lows. But if you don't trade that way, then just make sure that you're being consistent. All right, that's the key. So in this move here, we get displacement, but we see price just runs away. We don't get a return to the inefficiency here. Okay, we had our sweep. The low that swept the high, yeah, hasn't been taken out until down here, and this doesn't give me the risk to reward that I'm after. So what can I do to get into this trade? Well, you need to wait for the same setup, right? So let's have a look. Do we sweep this high here? No, we don't. We come and sweep this high. Do we break down below, which is the question? We come down, sweep the higher. Do we get a shift in structure? We do. Okay, that swing low. Energetic move through it. Then I'm looking to take a range here for the displacement. And I just want to find a fair value gap here. So entry within the fair value gap, stops above this high, or you go for the prior high. Don't know if we got swept here. No, we didn't, but it was very, very close. Ultimately, we're looking for key liquidity targets. Yeah, the easy range targets, your low-hanging fruit. Which are these? We see we come down, take that out here. Yeah, at which point, when you take this out, I normally trim some of the trade here to cover for fees. Yeah, so if we come back and we get taken out, ultimately we break down. It does take its sweet time, but then we end up back down here at our liquidity target. All right, so sometimes these things do take a little bit of time to play out. Let's just get rid of that for a second. Hey, see you later, Bernd. Hope the day goes well, buddy. I'll catch you next week. So we're down here. What do we want to see? We want to see price drive into here, get similar setups as we looked at in here, and then potentially purge lower. However, if we get that drive down today, price might not correct higher. If we get the drive down today, we know we've got liquidity here. Yeah, so if we see price recover this, yeah, on the lower time frames, we want to see a move something like this. Yeah, that giving us our entry, or ultimately we look for this same move down here and for price to recover. However, we don't obviously have a crystal ball here. The thing that we've got obviously with ARB is that we're very much lacking price action below that. The markets have been bullish overall. You know, ARB here, it's looking a little bit shaky in truth, but there's really not much data behind that. Let's take a look at a couple of others that people have put forward. What else have we got on here? RNDR. Cool. Okay, let's have a look here. Perfect. Nice clean chart. That's what we like to see. So, Yakuza Kana. Hey, buddy. Good to see you. C-Rock, you as well, mate. Apologies if I forgot to give you a shout out earlier. So, what's interesting me here? Well, first of all, on a weekly, and I know this is kind of a big area, obviously. Kind of looking at this here is quite interesting, really. Why? Because obviously it's acted as support through here. I mean, we do have, you know, you could take that level there, or even this level here is quite a good one. So we've come down, support, price has held this level here, come in, flipped it, retested it, had a significant sell-off, all right? Price has now come back to this level here. We can see the absorption here. Price just can't close above it. However, when we look at this price leg up, we have come down into the lower 50% here. Again, within our rules, we're looking at that. We've got our structure break. We didn't really get a sweep before this one, unfortunately. So if we were looking at this on a lower time frame for an entry, that probably would have kept us out. But what we can see is we have this move higher. Price comes back down into the 50% of our range. For any of you using Fibonacci's out there as well, we also get this lovely retrace here. into our golden pocket and 705. So with this move in here, that's when we can then look in and say, okay, if price is starting to show strength here. And again, guys, don't dismiss the candles, right? Candles can tell us so much. This long downside wick here coming up into this almost hammer candle, a little bit more of a wick above it to make it a real kind of technically really sound hammer candle or pin bar. But for me, that's telling me a lot. Price has come down into this area and has been bought up quite aggressively. So as we're looking in here, what do we want to be aware of? Well, this is our weekly high here and here as well. We can tell, well, this one, sorry, because that one's not a swing. So let's put that above here. Then we're looking for the next weekly liquidity, which is sat atop our range high. Yeah. So I'm just going to delete that now for a second. Or actually, I won't delete it. I'll take us down to the daily first. Show you how we can play this. Again, I know I sound like a broken record sometimes, but look, we've taken out these equal lows here, or certainly this low. Price has come down. What have we done? Come up to here. Now, the only thing that we failed to do here, unfortunately, well, we did it on this corrective move here, take structure, but really would have wanted to see a clean high like this taken. Or maybe we did. Very, very tight. Yeah, we did just take that swing higher. Then price corrects down. We're looking for our inefficiency down here, which point, obviously, we're drawing our range out here. But this is our, let me do it in that so we can see it clearer. We're down in our 50% here, which means it's go time for longs. And that's our entry in there. Targeting, first of all, this high, and then ultimately looking to knock off these highs on the way up. But obviously, remembering all the time that we've got a solid risk to reward. So if our entry's here at the top of the FVG, stops have to go, always put them a few pips below the swing low. And then I want to see this being 1.5 ideally. So 1.78, that's nice. I can trim some profit there. I can move my stops to entry. It allows me then a little bit of breathing room to leave that run, okay? So when we're looking at these patterns, obviously we are looking for them to repeat across different time frames, but we need to make sure that we're aligning our high time frame with our executable time frame, all right? So where we are here is a little bit similar, actually, to a lot of coins at the moment. On a daily scale, we've got this below, so let's write that up for our fair value gap daily. And we've taken this higher, yeah? Price has now come up, set a new swing higher, yeah? So we've got our high, higher, low. No doubt that we're bullish on this scale. So if we expect this to be attacked again, then this for me provides the best place for price to pull into and then look to make a move on the highs. All right. So that's RNDR. Interesting one here from YouTube user. TRX is due to be delisted from Binance US. Thoughts and chart setup if you have time. Okay. Very, very interesting. Let's take a look. Let me take a look at the one I have here on Bybit. See if we've got anything more erratic here. So did get our little volume sweep down here. Price came back up, ultimately back in the range. This is quite tight actually when we look at this here. So let's clean this up. Start on our weekly. Okay, so quite clean here actually. Taking liquidity above here. Took the liquidity from below there. Once again, took the sweep. Price came up. Energetic move higher. Why? Look at the dominance of the white candles here, especially with the bodies. Price took out this high, has retraced into this fair value gap here, which is where we would be looking for our entries on the lower time frames. But ultimately at the moment is kind of hanging in around here. Once again, we would just be doing the same here, guys. We're looking at the leg up. We've come back down into our fair value gap here in premium. That would have given us some nice day trades. And you can see where we just tagged the golden pocket there to come up as well. Now, probably would have expected a little bit more energy to pop above here. A bit of indecision in the market, maybe like you said in terms of that. But a lot are kind of looking like this at the moment, like they've either popped or they're very, very close to popping and they're just looking to retrace. I do think people are a bit hesitant at the moment. You're welcome, Eduardo, anytime, bud. I do think people are a little bit hesitant at the moment. But the other thing to say here as well, which I just kind of caught my eye here, is looking at our inside bar pattern, right? A bit smaller. We can see that that was swept, no problem. Now then, when we look at this, this is our mother bar, right? This was our inside bar, this little candle in here, but we've had the highs and lows of that swept now both ways. For me, the running of the lows here, just get our midline drawn in. So the running of the lows here, we've come back in, we've engaged with the midline, the EQ, we've come back across that. We've shown some nice bullish intent. This is weekly chart as well, remember guys. We've got that up, bullish engulfing here, nice long tail wick showing absorption. We pushed higher ultimately to take out the liquidity above this high. I personally would have expected price to push up at this point to take out the liquidity here. Although one thing to be aware of is, there's a lot of liquidity resting above these highs, right? So maybe that's led to the deeper correction into here, shakes a lot of people out. To be honest, I would have been bullish on this from down here. I would have been expecting us to attack this high. Retracement like this, seeing these tail wicks come up, we would have been looking in here on our lower time frames. In fact, a good opportunity now to dip into our daily chart. So price comes up, takes out this high, we get this nice correction here. What I would have really liked about this move higher and what would have got me involved here on a daily scale, in truth, I would have wanted to see something a bit stronger above that. That's maybe what would have kept us out here. We've got no closes. We've got the energy into this here, and it's come up a hell of a long way. It's taken liquidity resting below these lows down here, all right? So that's where the money's resting. That's where the stops are. Price purges into that, pops up to here, comes back down and is showing us a bit of weakness. But, I think it still would have probably been worth monitoring this here. Brilliant. Keep hitting bloody spacebar recently. One sec. Yeah, so we look to this fair value gap here, price to retrace into here, and then we'd be looking for strength, ultimately targeting these highs here, and we can see that we kind of fallen short of that here. So for me, this is starting to show a lot of weakness. If we now compare this even on a daily scale, actually somebody wanted us to take a look at Sol, didn't they? So let's ping this and take a look at Sol. You can see the strength here that Solana's showing, right? We corrected down to here. This obviously what we were looking for on lower time frames, swept this low, recovered this low, came, and we did take out the equal highs here. Price then ultimately broke down, sweeping these lows, not attacking the highs, not really giving many opportunities to get on board, and it took out our liquidity resting below. Now we've recovered this, right? And again, then looked to have a move higher. So if we zoom out to our weekly, I just want to see what's containing price, see if we've got a similar kind of setup here, which I think we have. But I think we're looking at, we haven't been swept on these yet, right? So here's our mother bar. Grab our range out. Here we go. 1 second, guys. So again, here's our mother bar range in here. Yeah. We didn't sweep the lows of this, which, I certainly would have missed a big opportunity here. Maybe something on the lower time frames taking out these lows, especially when we had this strong expansion higher. But what I would have certainly been looking for is for the midline to hold, for price to either deviate and push lower or to find support here and push up. And I definitely would have been favouring the former for this to hold and move higher. If I said that first, even I'm not sure I did. But yeah, I would have been expecting this here when price came in to hold, take out these lows, which it did well, drawn again into the lower part of this inefficiency, and then we got an attack on the highs. When this happened again here, and then price got back above our midline again. Once again, let's just get rid of that. Once again, we can see here, deviation, we get this strong move higher. Just take out this high, yeah? But again, not really the strength overcoming it. This move above here, which shows this displacement, this fair value gap in here, price draws into this, would have given us some opportunities, I'm sure, to go long, which we'd have to find on the lower time frames. As for right now, on a daily scale, we've just swept this. So on a lower time frame, a reclaim retest of this can be a trigger to go long, first of all into this level here, and ultimately into this high, which has been left above this after we took these equal highs. So that's what I'd be looking for. Sol's looking pretty strong at the moment. If we drop this down onto the lower time frame, just see if we can get some structure out of this. Now, in an ideal world, and obviously you don't always get this, well, realistically, this is kind of the origin of the move here. Any kind of retrace here. I like the area between the 0.5 and the golden pocket. Playing down into here, and then I'd be looking for longs up. Wax Shah, I've got to run. I've got to put the kids to bed in Singapore. Awesome, buddy. Well, welcome. Obviously, thanks so much for always being such a supporter of the stream. Really do appreciate all of you guys. Have a fantastic time in Singapore. What a beautiful, beautiful city. And catch me up, man. Come and grab me in the chat. Come and grab me around the nest if you've got any questions. Trade safe. Remember, obviously, news events all day today. But thanks again for joining in, buddy. If you've got anything that I missed on this one, come and grab me over at the desk, mate, and we'll chat it up together over there. So, again, here, personally, I'd be looking for pullbacks into this kind of area and then looking to see if we get that pullback into here. And then we'd want to see on the lower time frames, right? Like this. You want to see that at minimum. Ideally, you want to see that deeper correction, though, right? Taking that sweep, recovering that high, and then pushing up. So let's just have a very quick look on the hourly here. Under my own admission, with this kind of system, I am definitely a better range trader than I am a breakout trader, that's for sure. But with moves energetic like this, I always find the risk sometimes in playing these corrective moves here is that we're leaving a lot of price action lower down. So the fact that we've kind of run this high here, we'd be looking back here as well to look for key highs. This one, yeah, actually, okay. So what we'd be looking at here is saying this is our ultimate high here, yeah? So that's where we're expecting price to reach for. Now, it doesn't have to. We'd also be aware of this. Now, if I just put a quick horizontal ray on here and tell you why I would have probably taken this, actually, is because when we come up and we run this high here, look what happens. Look how sticky price is. Right? And what I mean by that is when we see, look at this, see how there's like a V in that recovery. Price has come into something here, yeah, probably the order blocks, right? And it's popped down and the orders have been filled really, really quickly, right? So you get that expansive move higher. Now, we're not really seeing this here, are we? This is kind of a bit more rounded as we see price then come back in. So then we can say to ourselves, okay, well, let's look at the obvious area here, which is this order block. Now that becomes what would be our point of interest in terms of our higher time frame, yeah? Because then we'd be looking to drop down to our executable time frame, yeah, for me, for example, which is the 5 minute. And once again, we're just saying, okay, what do we see? We get our sweep here, yeah? So ultimately that gets swept. Here's the high that's responsible for sweeping the low. Price breaks out above. We get that energetic movement. Do we get a fair value gap in here is the question. And if we do, is it within 50% of the move? So here's the leg higher. Now, if we zoom in, what have we got? No. I think we got a little skinny one here, haven't we? There we go. So entry here, yeah, stops below the swing low. Now, I know you can get greedy and go for these. I do use a term that I know is a bit open for interpretation, which is looking at the idea of something being clean and obvious, yeah, or clear and obvious. So when we tag in here, I'm saying to myself, are there any other inefficiencies down here? Now, these have been filled, right? But ultimately, and especially with crypto, you can see these get retraced more. So that's my most aggressive stop loss down here. Not normally the one that I'm looking for. I'm normally looking to go for the one before that, right? Especially if you've got a low percentage stop loss here, because we always have to be aware of our fees, right? And like I say, I want to make sure that this here, my first target, is a 1.5R. That doesn't mean, by the way, that I'm going to adjust my stop loss to something ridiculous to fit my narrative. I need to make sure that I've got the narrative clear. And in fact, even if I want to leave it under this here, yeah, ultimately, we've got this level, you've got that key swing low there, you've got other areas to defend, and you've got no inefficiencies in this area, then you've still got a 1.72R, all right? Like I say, just make sure that you're really, really kind of being consistent with this and that you're testing it a lot, all right? And if you've got any questions, guys, do feel that you can reach out, okay? YouTube user, you're very welcome. Would you be so kind as to touch on the way you use the B Pro indicator next week in your stream? Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what? I'll touch upon something that I've been developing recently with the B Pro team. Let me show you on. No, let's go on. Why not? Take a look at ETH. So, at the moment, I'm doing a lot of work with what's known as the B Pro trailer, which is kind of like a higher time frame trend indication. So with this, you see the black line that we've got up here. When it flips to the black line, it's meaning that the higher time frame that we've indicated is bearish, right? I've got this currently set to an hourly because I trade the majority of my low time frame trading is done on the 5 minute. So very simply, yeah, my rules are this. We've got a new trading day started here, which is depicted by 1 a.m. UTC plus 1, yeah? So if I'm up trading Asia, then all I need to see is a clear sweep, yeah? So I need to see that liquidity's been taken. What liquidity do we have here? Well, we've got these equal highs here. Yeah, price doesn't quite sweep this, would have even more conviction if it did, but it has met our core parameter, our minimum requirement, which is to take liquidity here. How am I then certain, or not certain, but if, say, for example, if we'd swept this, yeah, then you would be saying, okay, that's the key liquidity taken. However, we didn't sweep that, but we did sweep these, yeah, and we can see that we've got those equal highs resting here. So as we've done that, we could be coming up into this order block. Then I'm looking for how price reacts, right? Expansive move lower, taking out this low, also this low, leaves our inefficiency. I'm then looking for price to trade up into the 50% of this before going short. So what I'm looking for here, I'm doing a lot of testing around London and New York. So this is the London trading session where I'm mostly active, and then this is the New York Open through to just before the New York close. And then the majority of what I'm looking for is within the New York session. All right. So for in here, there's a couple of rules. One is if we've swept the prior day's high or low, yeah, then we revert to that being our key indication, meaning that even though we're bullish here, if this has been a sweep of the prior day's high, then we favour short trades here into liquidity lower down. All right. However, if we're holding this, as we can see, and we haven't run the prior day's low, right, and at this point we hadn't run the prior day's high, then what I'm looking for is for price to move in towards here. Yeah. So this is the key area for me, which is the New York AM Open. I want to see price driven down here to take out liquidity before ultimately recovering. And within here is when we're looking for our entry patterns. All right. Now, same vein here. What do we get? We take out this high. We get this breakdown here. Price didn't ultimately return into this, unfortunately. Well, I don't think it did. Certainly don't remember it doing so. No, it didn't. Fell just a little bit short. But if not, that would have been our short trade into these lows down here. Obviously, as long as our risk to reward makes it worthwhile, right? Because always be aware of your fees when you're trading lower time frame, guys. A lot of these trade setups, you'll see people posting trades and charts on Twitter showing tiny percentage gains, and the problem is you're just going to get eaten alive with your fees and your slippage over time. All right, guys. So look, I hope that's been helpful. I'm really sorry if I haven't got onto everything. Actually, Jad, apologies, mate. Let's take a look at one more thing here, because I know you did ask for a couple in here. So let's have a look. Let's look at Blur, shall we? If that's looking like that's got a setup on it, let's throw ourselves into the fire and see what that is. Get the big get contract up so that we can trade our perpetuals. Now, if we were looking at this in terms of, let's just wait for the rest of the day to load. Right, in terms of our BPro, so using this system, for example, what we would have here for a London session, and I don't favour the London session as much, but here's the prior day low, yeah? So we see price continue to purge this and it purges lower. However, remember, like I said, if we're seeing a recovery, yeah, after such a purge, then as long as we've got a clean upside target, liquidity resting above these equal highs would be really key for me. And in terms of scalping it, we ultimately want to make sure that we're going to at least have some room to get ourselves up to the 50%. Because if we do see a reaction here, price often searches out this higher 50% of the range before reversing, all right? So would we have had an opportunity to get in here? I mean, looking at this, it is all a little bit messy, right? So in truth, I like to see it really nice and clean. Yes, we do get our entry here. Obviously, press the spacebar again, which I just keep doing lately. Right, let's just grab back onto our blur chart. 1 second, mate. Probably added it at the end here. So we can see we got the liquidity taken out here. We've taken out these lows, obviously the liquidity resting below these as well. And then we want to see a recovery, right? So here we go. Here's our low. We come up, set this high, higher low. We want to see this high broken. But we want to see it broken with a bit of energy. Now, it did break. We did leave our fair value gap. We ultimately got our trade to the upside here. I like to see a little bit more conviction. Yeah. So let's say, we've got this is the swing high. You see this move through it. Yeah, that shows me that it's punching up. If this had been aligned with our bias as well, bearing in mind we're playing this off the fact that we've run this prior day low, yeah, and we have this recovery, I would prefer to see a move with bigger displacement, more energy going up. But in terms of what you're looking at the moment, mate, let's just update the comments. So I've got everything in here. Another little rose from Queen. You legend. I love the little roses you give me, Queenie. Okay, YouTube user, you've just got the indicator as well. Well, look, get yourself in the chat, mate, and ask some questions. Come and find me on there, tag me, and I'll run through some bits and pieces for you. And I'll certainly add it to a big part of it to the live stream on Monday as well. But we can organise an internal little webinar for people that are looking to learn more about the BPro. No problem. So blur 15 minute looks like a good scalp short if we get a break of structure. Right. So let me get on the right time frame and see where we are. So what you're looking for here then, my friend, let me just pop that out, is the idea that we've kind of taken out these highs. So let's kind of mark the most recent. Price has had then, this what we would label up, by the way, guys, in terms of this is a shift in market structure, not a break. So this would be our MSS bearish. Yeah, so we come up, swept the high, closed below, taken out the low, swept the high, price now coming back into here, right? Here's our fair value gap. Here's what we have in terms of our displacement leg, yeah? So now we're looking in here for a reaction, right? We adjust our fair value, or I adjust my fair value gap so that it's sat within the upper 50% of the displacement here, yeah? Because this is ultimately what we shifted structure here, and also we've taken out this low. Now, what you can always do, and always be very, very careful when you're doing this, guys, understanding for on the lower time frames, yeah, as you start to move lower, you could, for example, take this onto a 1 minute time frame, looking for that sweep, yeah, breakdown, retest, looking for your FVG in here. Yeah, so you're using this as your higher time frame. You're driving it right down into the 1 minute to see if you can find your setup. Obviously, the other way to do it is to then adjust this even further here, because as Irjad here completely rightly points out, this exists here on our 5 minute. So you could be to a point that you're putting limits on here, your stops would be above here, and you have a clear and clean liquidity target below. You would aim for this low to begin with, and ultimately you've got this low here. But remember this kind of sloped liquidity here, yeah, which is showing us because these lows weren't taken, right? Price has just come up, so you've got stops sitting under all of these as well. So if that is the trade that you're looking for, and you want to take it, say, for example, from the first part of the FVG, pop that just a little bit above the swing high. I'd want to see this at like 1.5 ideally. We're about 1.38. So I'd be a little bit cautious about this one, or maybe reduce position size a little bit, because we start running into liquidity here about 1.6. Ultimately, our target down here is 3R. So yeah, no, I think that's a really good setup there, mate. Very well done spotting that. What I would say is, though, let's just zoom out just a little bit. Something that I'm always aware of, but that I really don't want this to give anyone analysis paralysis, right? Whether you're taking it as this or you're taking it as the origin from the break of structure. We can see how prices kind of come in here to hold the golden pocket and then could be looking to move higher. However, we are also, when we look at this, driving into this hourly fair value gap as well. So no, I like it. Good principle. I think make sure you've kind of got your bias set up on the high time frame. Where's price reaching for? Is it bullish? Is it bearish? If we look at it here, high, low, lower, higher, low. But looking at it on that, if we were to look at this, more of these terms, a high, low, lower high, but a higher low, we're now looking to expand into this high to take out liquidity. That's what remains to be seen. So look, guys, Irjad, you're very welcome. I hope everyone's enjoyed the stream today. Just teased over an hour. I know we normally do. But thanks for the great questions. Really do appreciate all of you coming on. Saw some amazing names on here today as well, which was really, really cool. Look, guys, have a great week. Do reach out if you've got any questions. I'm obviously available on Twitter, BC_Richfield. You can come and grab me over at the Nest. And if you want to come and join us over at the Nest, you've got two options at the moment. You can join on a free trial, come and try it for a week, see if it's for you. Don't strong arm yourself into it. If you get what you get out of the community, fantastic. If not, then, it's not for you. Don't force yourself, right? Or you can join on the Bybit deal. You go and trade with Bybit. You only need to put in, I think, $100 deposit, and then you get access to our calls and to the trading team as well. But so many on the stream today. I'll try to remember everyone, but McRaw, fantastic, awesome. Thanks always for the feedback. AI YouTube user, Irjad, Queenie, always love seeing you on there. Marcin as well. Waxshar, obviously, who's not there now. It's putting the kids to bed over in Singapore. Eduardo was great to see you on there. Burn, Jimmy J, Yakuza, MM as well, obviously, as well. Great to see you on there. C-Rock. Ricky Garcia as well, coming in there with the good questions earlier as well. Thank you so much. Really, really sorry. Nipar as well, obviously, Tyler. Whichever one you were, the real one or the not. Either way, lots of respect. And if you're not the real one, definitely someone you got to go and check out. All right, Tyler Durden on Twitter, real old school price action trader, and just has one of the best British voices you can listen to. I remember years ago, always when I was looking to get into doing the YouTube side of things, following his streams, and still do to today. So again, make sure you know who you're following, why you're following them. Study hard. Don't get caught up in all the noise, guys. Put your time into studying and just don't get stuck blindly staring at charts. Get your system, test your system, refine your knowledge, and always be pushing forward. All right, guys, wishing everyone a fantastic week ahead. I'm going to be back on Monday. I look forward to seeing you all then. Have a great week.